Good morning, everybody. Okay, so today we're going to be learning about thermal energy. Thermal energy is heat energy. You've taken that before, we talked about it in the other lesson. So thermal energy is basically the energy of heat. Okay, it's the measurement of the total kinetic energy of all particles in an object. Remember when we said that the hot objects, see this one, it has movement that is faster, okay, and the cold object, it has movement that is smaller, that is like not faster, I mean slower. So the total amount of kinetic energy is the movement of these particles, okay. So the total amount of kinetic energy in an object is the thermal energy. So a hot object would probably have more thermal energy because it has more kinetic energy. This one has less thermal energy because it has less, because the particles inside the cold object are moving slower. So it has less kinetic energy and therefore less thermal energy. Thermal energy is measured in joules, same as work. When an object is hot, its particles are moving faster, see, and it has more thermal energy, that means more kinetic energy, than when it's cold. Okay, now we have four factors. Remember these because in the worksheet I'm going to ask you about these. First I'm going to ask you about how is the thermal energy measured, and you're going to say in joules. I'm going to ask you about what is the definition of thermal energy. You're going to get it from here. Then I'm going to ask you what are the four factors. So the four factors that affect thermal energy, يعني شو الأشياء يلي بتأثر على thermal energy. This is what I mean by four factors that affect the thermal energy. It means what affects it. شو الأشياء اللي بتأثر عليها. شو الأشياء اللي بتخلي thermal energy تتغير. Okay, so what are these factors? They are mass, how heavy, composition, state, and temperature. I know you don't understand what these mean. We're going to explain them one by one. So number one is mass, or how heavy an object is. So a bigger object has larger mass. It will have more thermal energy than a smaller object. So look at this rock, okay? This rock, there's a big rock and then there's a small rock. The bigger rock, the larger one, it has more mass. Because it has more mass, it probably has more particles moving. Okay, that means it has more kinetic energy. That's why a bigger rock would have more thermal energy. Okay, even though a smaller rock might be a bit hotter, but the bigger rock has more particles that are moving, so it has more thermal energy. So mass, it affects it. That means how heavy. So a bigger object, larger mass, would have more thermal energy than a smaller object. Okay, so that's number one. More mass, bigger an object is, more thermal energy. Number two is composition, the material that the object is made of. You don't need to know which material has more thermal energy. All you need to know is that if there's different kind of material, it would probably have different energy, different thermal. So metal would probably have thermal energy that's different from the glass. Glass will probably have thermal energy different from plastic. Each one of these is different material and would probably have different amounts of thermal energy. That's all you need to know on this. So composition means what the material is made of. Okay? Third thing would be state. So we have three kinds of states. We have solid, liquid, and gas. Okay, so in solid, you have less thermal energy. Liquid, you have more than solid. But the gas, you have the most thermal energy. So in gas, the particle moves faster. So here, the particles are moving much faster than here in liquid or than here in solid. They move the fastest here. So the gas has more kinetic energy. And that means it has more thermal energy. Okay, more kinetic means more thermal, so it would have the most is the gas, and then the liquid comes after that. Solid would have the least kinetic energy because the particles would move slower, so lower kinetic energy. The fourth factor that affects is temperature. A hot object has more thermal energy. If the object is hotter, it would probably have more thermal energy than a cold object because it has more kinetic energy. Because in a hot object, the particles are moving faster. Okay? Warm water has more thermal energy, okay, or more kinetic energy than cold water. So the four factors are temperature, again, the state, solid, liquid, and gas, with gas having most kinetic and thermal energy. Factors that affecting also composition, so what the material is made of. And number one would be the mass, if it's big or small. Bigger has more thermal energy. So these are the four factors affecting. That's all the lesson is about today. There's a small practice. Number the boxes so that they are ordered from least thermal energy to greatest. Now because these two, the iceberg and the lake, are very big, we're going to leave them till the end. They have more kinetic energy, even though this is cold. We're going to leave it till the end because it's very big, so it would have more particles, so it would have more kinetic energy. So number one would be the ice, and then it would be the water. 3 would be the boiling water. Okay, we're going in which has more thermal energy. Boiling water has more than ice and has more than water. And then we go to iceberg, 4, because it's large. The lake is 5. This has the most kinetic energy because it's large and it's not cold. It's probably maybe cold in the winter, but still, because it's large, it has more thermal energy. So this is, you have it here. You don't have to worry about this. This might sound confusing, but we're not going to have to number it this way later. You're not gonna get something this confusing in any of the practices that you're gonna do by yourself. Okay, that's it for today. See you tomorrow.